Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to thank you for joining us today for our winter weather news conference. We are going to start with updates from different departments and organizations. And then after that, we will have a Q&A where reporters can ask questions. And to ask a question, you can either ask it or let me know in chat, or you can raise your hand and I'll call on you. So our first speaker today is our mayor, Mayor David Holt.
Thank you, Christy and Zach and the team once again. My message is not necessarily all that different today, but I'm glad we have an opportunity to check in again with all the members of the city manager's team, as well as our community partners. I'll again express my hope that everybody just stays home. I think we're probably to the stage of this winter weather event where people are getting a little impatient, and what seemed not so bad is starting to wear on all of our nerves a little bit. And all I can say is, unfortunately, we're at best maybe about halfway through this event, and maybe not even quite there. Temperatures will not rise above freezing any earlier than Friday, it would appear. And so we're going to have a lot of snow on the ground for quite some time, and we're going to have extreme temperatures affecting every aspect of our lives for several more days. So all I can ask is patience as we try to get through this together, and obviously continue to take your precautions and control what you can control with the very low temperatures that we are experiencing, and for the length of time we are experiencing them. You are still very much subject to loss of use of your pipes in your house. So, keep up that dripping, keep up the little stream. I'm sure you'll hear that from utilities here in a few minutes as well, but it seems like probably the aspect of this that might affect the highest number of our residents is the loss of their water in their house. So please stay on top of that and stay off the roads if you can at all possibly do that. We are continuing, as you will hear in a moment, to plow the roads, and we'll continue to work those snow routes, and hopefully they're in pretty good condition. But remember that we can only get to a small fraction of the 620 square miles of this city. And there are many, many roads you would have to traverse if you got out and made much of a trip that will be beyond our plowing. And so there's just nothing we can do about that. And so the best bet is to stay home. And finally, of course, as always, great gratitude to our city workers and our public safety officers and everybody else who's got to be out in these conditions. It is brutal weather, as you know, if you've even stepped outside for 30 seconds. So all the gratitude in the world to them. Thank you for all that they're doing. And their fearless leader for many of those people is the city manager, Craig Freeman. And once again, I will turn it over to him for a few words. Thank you, Craig, for all that you're doing as well. And you were at City Hall with a tie on even. So I think that deserves a gold star. And thank you so much for all you're doing.
Thanks, Mayor. And I just want to say thanks again for those who are joining the press conference here, and to those in the community for their patience as we're working through this. As we work through, and with us, with the city, as well as with our partners, we all try to prepare for the worst case scenario. And sometimes there are just more scenarios and more situations than you can prepare for, but we're all ready to respond. And so as you experience sometime delays or interruptions in service, we appreciate your patience. We're working as fast as we can, as hard as we can to get services restored or to clear roads, to do what we can. I do, just again, like the mayor said, I want to say thank you to all of our employees who are out there working in this cold and this bitter weather, whether it's someone responding to an emergency or a fire, or it's someone taking care of your water service or clearing the road or driving a bus, someone taking calls even who's braved the weather so they can take calls, the emergency calls. All of those services are so important for our residents, and I just appreciate the services of our employees as well as the employees of our partners and partner agencies you'll hear from today. So today you'll hear from some of the leaders in several of our city departments, as well as leaders from several of our partner agencies about the services and the conditions that are out there. I appreciate their leadership and the service of all those employees. So I'm going to turn it to Christy, and Christy will walk us through introductions as we go through the presentation.
Thanks, Craig. Our streets crews have been working 12-hour shifts, 24 hours a day for many days now. And our street superintendent is Raymond Melton. And I'd like to have him come up and speak to our streets at this point.
Thank you, Christy. I want our residents to know that our staff is monitoring the weather carefully and we're fully prepared for this next event today. Our crews are still in full scale staffing, as you mentioned, working around the clock to keep the streets as clear as possible. The city snow routes are in good condition and residential and secondary streets are in fair condition. Currently, we have 25 city snow plows working to remove as much of the snow so we can get ahead of the additional accumulations coming in today. The weather has affected a few of our fleet, but has not slowed down our operation at all. Once again, no salt usage over the last 24 hours because of the temperatures. We still have approximately 10,000 tons of salt in storage that will help us out through this next event coming up. City contractors that were brought in to assist our operation have ceased their operations temporarily, but they're on standby as needed for this next event. It really helped us a lot with the downtown area and some of our contingency routes yesterday to open those up. Traffic maintenance crews have their trucks loaded with temporary stop signs and are ready to respond to any signal light outages caused by any blackouts that we may have. Yesterday, we tested our street building generators and all are working properly, so our operations will not be affected from a loss of electricity. We encourage everyone that can to stay home if possible until this next event passes. If you do have to get out and find yourself behind one of our plow trucks, please keep a safe distance of 100 feet away from our truck. There's a map on www.okc.gov of our snow routes if you do have to get out. And I thank you for your patience as we get through this next event.
Thanks, Raymond. Next up is Josh Ryan. He is going to speak to Will Rogers World Airport.
Christy, thank you very much. The window that we had between storms gave our maintenance crews and the airlines an opportunity to catch up a little bit. Some areas that the maintenance crews weren't able to get to while snow was still falling. They were able to get out there and brush snow away. Airlines took the opportunity to get some additional aircraft in and get some flights out through last night and today. Departures and arrivals have been happening throughout the day from the early morning hours. And this next event, though, will be another opportunity for them to kind of do the evening cancellations that we saw before with the first snowstorm. And what that does is protects those aircraft, doesn't have them sitting out on the ramps overnight, getting covered in snow. And what that leads to, though, is early morning cancellations tomorrow. So I would encourage everybody who has a flight scheduled, double and triple check notifications from your airline. Make sure that before you even attempt to drive out to the airport, that you are checking for those notifications and making sure that your flight is still scheduled. We're going to have maintenance teams out here throughout the night. Another shift coming in at midnight, and they will be doing what they did before, which is keeping this airport operational. And we want to thank them very much for their hard work.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Captain Daniel Stewart with the police department.
Thank you, Christy. I think, we want the public to know is that we're here to serve, and we have, we're fully staffed and ready to respond to any 911 call. I think what we would also want them to know is, with this cold weather, the lakes and bodies of water are freezing over, and we just want people to be safe and to stay off of those. Not only are you putting yourself at risk, but we would have to respond, the fire department had to respond, and we're putting our first responders at risk. So we would just like the public to know that it would be best just to stay away from any body of water that's frozen over.
Thank you. Battalion Chief Benny Fulkerson is our next speaker. He is with the fire department.
Thanks, Christy. I just want to echo what he just said about staying off the bodies of water. That's something that it could turn really bad really quickly, and we're here to help, but don't make us come get in that water. And more importantly, we want to keep you out of that water. So let's just stay off of the ice. It's not safe to do that. The only other thing that I would like to mention is we've had 4 fires over the past few days that involved space heaters under houses to keep pipes warm. You have to be aware of your heating equipment. at all times, not just in your house, but when you try to start being creative and do something like that to keep pipes warm, that's something else to be aware of. It could cause your whole house to be on fire very quickly. So just be very careful with your heat sources. That's all I have.
With EMSA, we have Adam Paluca.
Thank you so much. I just want to talk about something we experienced this morning in our 911 call centers. When we began to see some of those intermittent rolling power outages, we received a number of 911 calls from folks who rely on electrically powered medical equipment or refrigerators for their medicines. It's very important that folks understand that if you are experiencing a medical emergency, of course, call 911 and EMSA will respond as quickly and safely as possible. However, please do not call 911 to report power outages. If you have a question about your medical equipment surviving on battery power or what temperature your medication can safely be at if the power for your refrigerator goes out, you need to call your doctor, medical provider, or pharmacist. That'll help us make sure that we can get to the patients who need us most. Thank you.
With OG&E, we have Brian Alford. Brian, you are muted.
Terribly sorry, Christy. But what I was saying is I want to thank EMSA for that feedback. It's a question that we received as well. Natural gas supplies continue to be an issue for the electric generation sector. We're fortunate today. We did have some intermittent interruptions this morning, but now the Southwest Power Pool has taken the region back to a level 1, which is where we started this several days ago. So that's a very positive step. However, it doesn't mean that we need to rest. We need to continue to conserve and do what we can to limit consumption, not only of electricity, but of natural gas. I would love to be able to be in a position to say that we wouldn't see any more of these outages, but as we all know, it's going to be very likely, as the mayor said, we're still looking at a few days of this before we climb back above freezing. But at this point, things are looking better, but it does not yet mean that we won't see some additional interruptions over the course of the next few days.
Thanks, Brian. Next up is Kent Shortridge. He's with ONG.
Yeah, thank you, Christy, and good afternoon. And Mayor, I really appreciate your comments and how you characterize that. You know, we're at best at halftime. That is so true. And kind of echoing some of the comments from Brian, as of this morning, we are not experiencing any significant outages. However, our biggest concern remains the limited availability of natural gas from our suppliers. The demand for natural gas continues to outpace supply. It's going to take time for our suppliers to get their natural gas wells back online. That's why it is so important for everyone to continue to minimize the amount of natural gas they are using. We really appreciate the efforts of our large industrial and transport customers who are doing all they can to reduce their usage. I also want to commend them for helping us and continuing to reduce their usage. We are at a critical point that we need to keep that effort going and have our commercial and residential customers do the same. We are thankful to see the community responding so well to the calls for energy conservation, and it is working thus far. We appreciate our fellow Oklahomans doing all they can to help our community. The key is for us all to remain vigilant and keep it up through the significant weather event. It will take all of us to avoid a large outage situation. As we've discussed before, there are very small actions you can take that can result in big impacts as more people do them, such as lowering your thermostats, turning down your hot water heater, and sealing leaks around doors and windows. As a reminder, we posted conservation tips on our website at oklahomanaturalgas.com/severe cold. And we are posting updates on Facebook and Twitter as we receive questions. Our employees continue to work around the clock, and we're positioning them at critical locations in preparation for any service outages as our modeling may indicate. Thank you again for conserving and helping us keep our community safe and warm. And please continue to do so, as it can make a big difference on whether we can continue to serve our customers. Thank you all very much.
With utilities, we have Jennifer McClintock.
Hello, thank you all, everybody, for being here today. Just a few things that we want to update. Our customer service center has been receiving quite a few calls today regarding low pressure issues. And this is due to high system demands, coupled with some temporary equipment issues that we had at the Draper Water Treatment Facility. And it's all related to the freezing temperatures. The equipment has been repaired and the plant is back in full operation as of now, but we are still running at summer demand levels in terms of overall water use. So just like with your electricity, just like with your gas, we're asking folks to take some steps in doing what they can to conserve their water on the other end of things, with maybe holding off on that load of laundry, holding off on that load of dishes, the things that use up a lot of water and pull a lot of water from the system into people's houses. We are aware of the issue and we are doing everything that we can on our end to make sure that the water pressures stay level. Since Saturday, we got a question about this yesterday. We have responded to more than 300 service calls, closer to 400, but only 32 of those have been breaks to our system mains. The majority of the calls that we responded to were from freezing lines in individual homes, and it could have been plumbing lines. It could also be the service lines in people's yards. So again, do what you can to maintain the integrity of your lines in your home, especially if they are along outdoor walls, external walls. I am letting mine run at a little small pace. You don't have to have them running very fast. And then finally, trash reminder. Monday's trash is moved to Saturday. Today's trash, Tuesday's trash, and recycling services are being moved to Sunday. And if you are one of our customers that has bulky waste this week, then you will need to put that out by 6 a.m. on Thursday morning, and crews will be working between Thursday and Sunday to get all of the bulky waste picked up.
Thank you.
And then,
the transit director is Jason Fairbrush.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you, Christy. Yeah, just a quick update on Embark's family of services here. I wanted to start by talking about our services that are currently suspended. As I've mentioned before, our mobility management services that cater particularly to seniors, that service has been canceled, or I should say suspended. Yesterday, we made the decision to suspend Oklahoma City streetcar service. We had some issues with needing to clear the track early on, and then after learning about the demands on the electric grid and OG&E's request to conserve electricity, we've made the decision to take the Oklahoma City streetcar offline because, as we know, it uses electricity for its propulsion. That doesn't mean that we're not providing any service. We are still driving the route with basically a van shuttle type service in case by chance there's someone at a streetcar platform. Although we have made that announcement on social media, those announcements are out on our website that the streetcar vehicles have been suspended from service. And we'll take that day to day throughout the rest of the week. I would expect that suspension to last until tomorrow for sure. Looking over at our Embark bus, we continue to run the reduced service levels on our fixed route system, operating from 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. with 1 hour frequency. We do know people are using the bus. We provided over 800 trips yesterday on the system. So again, if you are having to make a trip, it's an essential transportation service that you need. We're asking you just to take every precaution, and please use our website to check the weekend schedules because we are running weekend service, and use the SMS text alert for the best method for real-time arrival information. So that's kind of where we're at on the Embark bus system. We do plan to operate at reduced service hours again tomorrow. I know we've had a few questions come in through social media, so we're making that announcement now. We will be on reduced service hours tomorrow too. Our Embark Norman bus service also operating hourly. It's on the Saturday service schedule, and we're operating routes 110, 111, and 112. Those hours are 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Again, the Embark Plus ADA transportation, we're operating that service. Of course, we're providing a lot less trips due to destination closures and so forth. I guess I'll follow up making a couple of comments on our parking system. If customers are using our parking in our parking garages today and throughout the rest of the week, as you know, all the access controls run off of electricity. We have made arrangements so that if there is a blackout by chance, the garages will not be affected. Customers will still be able to get in and out of our parking garages. One particular note, if you're parking in our Civic Center parking garage, we did have an issue there with a water line. It has been contained, but it took our elevators offline. So we do not have elevator service in the Civic Center parking garage at this time. But again, just wrapping up, wanting to advise all of our customers to take every precaution that they can, and also continue to recognize our Embark employees, both all of our operators, our fleet maintenance technicians, all those that take care of our facilities and have kept our facilities open. Just recognize them for the good work they're doing. So that's my report. Thank you.
The last winter weather update is from Jared Shaved. He is our homeless program planner. Jared.
Yes, we got to about 243 people at the Willard last night. That's pretty close to capacity. That's good though, because that means we got a lot more people in than we had previously. Means that we're going to try to get as many women over to Salvation Army this evening to fill up their beds to make sure there's space, and also have people on deck to be prepared to open up our excess capacity should we need it, should the Willard fill. Again, if people want to make donations, I would recommend checking out the social media of our certain organizations like Homeless Alliance, City Rescue, Salvation Army, CSU Youth, other shelter organizations that we're working with. And yeah, I think that's about it for right now. Right now, supplies are holding out. I would still recommend that if people need to get to a facility, get to the Willard, and if it does fill, then we will coordinate transport to another location.
Thank you, Jared. At this time, we will take questions. If you have some questions, let me know either in the chat or raise your hand. Brett with the Free Press has some questions.
Thank you, Christy. I wanted to ask Mr. Shortridge about how you're dealing with the pressure issue. I've seen some mention, but it wasn't very complete about trucks. You know, something about trucks being brought in to help to keep the pressure up in your system, or as reserves or something. Could you explain that a little more?
Yeah, I'm more than glad to, and thank you. So we do have some what we call compressed natural gas trailers that we can put on low points to help boost the load. And we've got those deployed throughout our system. Obviously, there's a limit on how many we have, but that's what we're talking about.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Shortridge. Mr. Alford, you know, there's a lot of confusion out there right now. I've had readers asking. I'm not even sure I'm totally clear about the the down seller or something like that, about the power pool that even you guys keep referencing in your social media sometimes. Could you explain what that exactly what that is and what it is that that actually does. It's looking like from some of your posts that they command you all to do rolling blackouts, and yet I see some other things that makes it look like that there's more choice in there in terms of how you are trying to keep your system whole during these times of high demand. So could you just kind of sort that out for us there so we understand that a little bit?
Sure, I'll try to be as brief as I can with that. The Southwest Power Pool is a quasi-governmental agency that OGE and other utilities all across about a 14 to 17 state area in the mid-continent, basically from parts of North Texas to the Canadian border. And their responsibility is to coordinate the generation and transmission across that region. By being a part of that pool, we participate in a marketplace that each of the utilities bids their transmission into each day. And the end customer receives the benefit of that in that you have competition for electric generation. And it's saved our customers several billions of dollars over the course, or Oklahomans, several $billion since Oklahoma joined the pool. But their role is to coordinate. And so they are constantly looking at demand on the system and the available generation to meet that load. In these past few days, we have seen the natural gas issues that you've heard about today. Renewable energy is not available. Many of the wind turbines in the region have frozen and are unable to generate. And so when you get short of generation, you have to take steps to protect the integrity of the grid. Were we not doing these controlled interruptions, it would not take long for the system to go into an uncontrolled blackout situation where you're really starting to recreate from scratch at that point. What happens is the pool notifies us that we need to shed load. So we need to reduce the amount of load on our system. We have programmatic steps that are initiated once we get that request. And the timing from when that request comes until we actually execute is virtually instantaneous. So it does not allow us a significant amount, if any, time to notify our customers that they're coming. But we are working diligently to ensure that those stay keep to less than an hour where we can. For situations like you heard, of course, it's bitterly cold. We have folks that may be on oxygen or concerned about their medications. So we work hard to limit that impact. We'll restore those customers and then move to a different set of customers. That's a kind of a 30,000 foot view. I hope that helps. But if you've got some deeper questions that you'd like me to address, I'm happy to do it.
Well, thank you for that answer. And it's the Southwest Power Pool I was talking about. I couldn't think of the name at the time.
Yeah.
So it's a way to coordinate and balance electric generation across 14 states. Is that right?
I believe so. I can't remember if it's 14. It may be 17 now, but it is primarily those states between Texas and the Canadian border due north.
Last question here. Do you have a way in your system to notify people that a planned interruption is about to happen? Because that's come up in several quarters.
Well, that goes back to what I mentioned earlier. We go through steps. Currently, we're at a level 1, which is, no level is best, but a level 1 is we're keeping a watchful eye on what's going on the system. Level 2, we take steps, for example, to begin looking at curtailments of our large industrial customers, big users. And then when we hit the level 3, which is the most critical, that's when we get notified and required to take steps virtually immediately. And it limits the amount of time that we have to give customers a heads up. We wish that were a better circumstance, but in this particular situation, these things are very dynamic. They move very quickly. You typically see a couple of peaks in the winter. When I say peaks, that's when consumption is at its highest. We see a couple of those each day. We this morning had to initiate interruptions this morning due to the peak. We've been able to take steps back from that now. We're hopeful that we've seen some additional generation come online. We're beginning to see the wind turbines start to come back online. So as those things happen, that will begin to reduce the necessity for these interruptions.
Thank you very much. Christy, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. We have two more people that have questions, but first I wanted to bring up something that Sean with the AP asked. He wanted to know if we could add people with the City County Health Department on the call tomorrow, and I will certainly put that call in. I think that's a good idea. So I have Dylan up next, and then after that, I'll call on Bill with the Oklahoman. But let's go back to Dylan right now. Are you on the line, Dylan?
Hey, Christy, I am. Thank you. Brian, I just wanted to follow up on something Brett asked you. I've seen a lot of frustration. I think I have this question too. Is it just so fast moving that you all are not technically able to notify people your power is about to go out? And if that's the case, like I said, we've had people asking this question and I have it as well. Why not send an email or a text or a phone call out to all OG&E customers and tell them, hey, over the next few days, your power may go out for X amount of time and that kind of thing. Walk us through kind of what's going on there.
We have been relying on social media, Dylan, to deliver that message. Could we send out, we've been doing emails to those customers that we have email addresses for. Of course, we've been working with you all in the media. Would a robocall add to that? It's possible. It's something that we're looking at, but we're really working to leverage the channels that allow us to move as quickly as we need to move, because to your point, from the time we receive the request till the time the expectation is that we deliver is very minimal. It truly is. We receive the notification of how much we need to shed, and we immediately activate our system to begin that shedding process.
Thank you, Brian. And the social media posts are extremely helpful for us to prep people. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Dylan.
Next, I'll call on Bill Crum with the Oklahoman.
This was for Kent. The wellheads are free as water comes up with the gas?
Can you ask that again, Bill?
It was for Kent. I was curious about whether it's correct that the wellheads are freezing because water comes up with the gas.
Yeah, that is correct. So the producers that are out there, as the wells are producing, there's liquids in the stream, and a good chunk of that may be water. And in these extreme cold temperatures, that will freeze up and actually block off the wellhead.
Okay. And to follow up on that, like up in North Dakota, are there things that they do to mitigate that?
Well, I want to be clear. I'm not a producer, but I know that there are a lot of things that they try to do in these extreme weather conditions and with hazardous driving conditions. It can really limit their capability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just curious about whether, it's pretty harsh in North Dakota for a long time in the winter. And I wondered whether there's something that they do up there to keep production moving.
Your question, as far as, our company, we serve in Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas, and we're seeing this impact really throughout this whole region, and not following the north as closely, but certainly with these extreme temperatures, I think it's impacting anybody that's in that Arctic outbreak.
Yeah, absolutely. it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think the key here to
Uh,
maybe help you is it's just how long this Arctic outbreak has been with us. I mean, typically here in Oklahoma, we'll get it for 1 or 2 days, but this has been a prolonged Arctic outbreak.
Yeah, yeah. One other thing I wanted to ask Jared about injuries and/or fatalities that you're seeing in the homeless camps, or any other updates on how well you're doing in persuading people to come in.
Well, we think we're doing well at persuading people to come in, given the numbers we had last night, and how many people also that they've been able to set up in other facilities like City Rescue and some motel rooms. So that's been great. It's going to be a challenge for capacity tonight, but I think we've essentially got staff prepared for it. We've got about if we have to use it, we've got close to 120 extra beds. Right now, though, I mean, as far as the camps, we're not finding a lot of our outreach people haven't really been going out and finding a lot of people in the camps. I think most of those people maybe seem to have come indoors. The people they have reached out to, it's hit or miss. They can't make them come in. They tell them right then where they need to get. Some they brought to the location if it was late at night. Other times the people have a choice where they come in, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It would appear that last night they had more luck than usual. The transportation between the warming centers has been a big help, because a lot of people yesterday, when it got real cold and was snowing, came into the warming centers, and they transported from those warming centers directly over to the Willard. So I think we're having good luck. I still haven't heard any news on fatalities. Again, I can't promise that we haven't had any. With the blizzard, that's kind of limited how much our outreach, how much space they can actually reach far out in the field. But so far, we've not heard anything about injuries or, well, aside from maybe some frostbite, we haven't heard anything about any severe injuries or fatalities.
Okay, thank you, Ken and Jared. Thank you very much.
Do we have any other questions from the media? I do not see any. We will be back tomorrow at 1:30 after it's snowing to give another update. So thank you to everybody who spoke today. I appreciate your time, and thanks to the media for helping us get the word